So we just got the Xbox Developer Direct for 2024. Now there's been a lot of hype and interest for this showcase to hopefully set up Xbox for a good 2024 year. And honestly, even before this Direct on paper, I felt like their lineup sounded pretty solid. But now that we've actually seen it, we've seen gameplay firsthand, we've gotten release windows and release dates, we've gotten a lot of new details. I mean, a lot of new details. And I can really only speak for myself here, but I left this event even more impressed with their 2024 lineup that we currently know about. There was a lot to like about what Xbox showed us today, but then there was also a few details that left me a little bit more mixed. I'll get into that as well. But I think the first thing about this showcase is that it is a different type of an event than what a lot of people are used to seeing. Now, what I mean by that is that this isn't just a showcase where they show trailer after trailer after trailer. Instead, this was a very slow-paced event where they more or less gave us a deep dive into 5 different games. They had developers come out and talk about their games, and they also revealed a lot of new previously unseen gameplay. Now, I personally really like this style of showcase, but at the same time, I do understand how some people might not, because it is slower. You know, the pacing might not necessarily be for everybody. The way I kind of look at that, though, is that you're probably going to enjoy that if the games they show are something that you're interested in. If it's a game that you don't care about, well, then you might get a little bit more annoyed, and you're kind of like, okay, I get it. Let's see the next game. Luckily, though, most of the games that they showcased today, I have a genuine interest in, and that starts off with the first game that they showcased being Avowed. This is Obsidian's next game, and really, I'd say it's actually their first big project under the Xbox umbrella. So there is this curiosity to see what one of the best RPG makers in the industry can make under the Xbox umbrella. I mean, you know, they've made games like Pillars of Eternity, they have Outer Worlds, Fallout New Vegas, or even Sticks of Truth. They really are among the best RPG studios out there, and now that we've seen extensive gameplay for Avowed, I feel like they're going to do it yet again. I left very impressed by what they showed today. One of the big things that they're doing here is that they're letting players customize their combat style by dual wielding. You have guns, swords, and even magic wands. You can combine all of these and do whatever you want. You can switch them on the fly just like that, and it really looks like a lot of fun. You know, they showed the wands in this game, and it almost had this Harry Potter-esque feel to it, but it honestly genuinely looked fun, and more so, I like the art style. That was something that a lot of people wasn't originally sold on, but I thought it looked really good here. I liked the environments, and even the small amount of enemies that they showed, I liked how they looked. I mean, I'm hoping that there's more variety than what they showed here. I'm sure that there is, but we'll see how all that works out as it gets closer to release, which is now fall of 2024. So this immediately moves up my list of most anticipated 2024 games because really, I was impressed with what they showed today. The next game, though, was Hellblade II. This is probably right now my personal game of the show just because I am such a huge fan of the first game. I, to this day, do believe that it is one of the best story-driven experiences that you can play, and the sequel continues to look incredible. But what really stood out to me today was that you can tell just how dedicated and how passionate Ninja Theory is. It really bleeds into this game. You know, the reason that the first Hellblade is so beloved is because it's this deeply rooted personal experience. It's got great storytelling. It has world-class sound design. The facial animations are amazing. The graphics are stunning. And it's this brutal experience that really ingrains itself into your mind. I mean, you're going to think about this game long after you finish it. And with everything that they showcased, you can tell that this team is excited about what they're doing. They're excited about all of those elements, and they want to ramp them up to the next level. I mean, I was already sold on this game before this showcase, but, you know, it really does look fantastic. The combat, the music, and just absolutely everything. Now, they did note that it'll be a similar length to the first game, which means it's going to be around 8 hours or so. That doesn't really personally bother me because, I mean, I've said this 100 times before. I don't really need every game to be 20, 30, or even 50 hours long. Quality, to me, is the most important thing at the end of the day, and Hellblade 2 is once again shaping up to be a very special experience when it does release on May 21st. So there you go. We do have an official release date, and we're not going to have to wait all that long either. There, however, is one caveat that we need to discuss. I think this is going to be a major topic this week because after the showcase, Xbox confirmed that Hellblade 2 will be launching at $50 and will be digital only. Yeah, this is starting to become a trend. I mean, we literally just talked about this yesterday. Ubisoft made news for saying gamers should get comfortable not owning their games. And here we are 24 hours later, and a major title coming from Xbox, out of all companies, confirmed a huge digital-only game. I mean, this is not a small game. It's a AAA caliber game that they've been hyping up for years. Now, granted, it is a Game Pass title, but it definitely does seem like Xbox is increasingly moving towards digital-only games. And personally, even though I'm excited for this game, and this doesn't change that fact at all, but just like Alan Wake 2, I still can't help but be disappointed by this. I mean, we saw the same thing happen last year with Alan Wake 2, and now Hellblade 2 is the next AAA game that will be digital only, or at least for the time being. I mean, hopefully they'll eventually partner up with somebody like Limited Run Games or I Am 8-Bit. Come on, somebody pick this up. But this is another indication for the direction the game industry is heading. And for me, I can't say that I'm too excited about that direction. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old and I'm pushing against that future. You know, at least Alan Wake 2 and Hellblade 2 are coming in at cheaper prices, but I do still feel like they deserve physical releases. But I don't know. Let me know what you all think about this. Is this something that bothers you or not? Now, next up here, though, the rumors were absolutely true. They did have a 5th game planned after all, though I don't think that anybody was expecting this. It was Visions of Mana from Square Enix. Now, at first, this seems like a very strange title to include. You know, this is not a first-party game, and it's not even a part of the Xbox Game Pass lineup, so why was this game at the showcase? And I think there's actually a few different reasons here. One is that it actually looks like a pretty good action JRPG, but two, and more importantly here, is that this is the first time ever that this series is going to appear on an Xbox console, and it's coming from Square Enix. I mean, you have to consider Xbox's history with Square Enix and their newfound partnership. Vision of Mana's inclusion at a first-party Xbox showcase almost comes off to me as Xbox telling Square Enix, we got your back. You keep bringing your games over to our consoles because we're going to advertise your games in our own dedicated showcase where hundreds of thousands of people will watch, and then it'll get countless headlines afterwards. So I kind of feel like this was Xbox showing a sign of goodwill to Square Enix. You know, Xbox needs to do everything in their power to reassure Square Enix that they can have success on the Xbox brand. That way, Square Enix will continue to stay committed to their partnership in the future. I think this also is kind of a way for Xbox to show fans that they're committed to Square Enix because, you know, they made this big hoopla last year on stage that they are going to have a lot more Square Enix games in the future. And the fact that they showed them at a first-party event is kind of them saying, yeah, this is going to happen. You know, there's a lot of speculation with Final Fantasy VII and, you know, Rebirth and 16, and you know, this is a pretty good sign, if anything else. Nonetheless, though, Visions of Mana does look good, and it will release this summer. Now, they also showcased Aura History Untold, and honestly, this isn't really a game for me personally. I'm not necessarily the biggest strategy buff in the world, but I will say this is kind of where having a deep dive event like this can kind of pay off. I did at the very least leave this showcase with a much better understanding for what this game is, and I can definitely understand why a lot of people would like this game. It has a lot of mechanics that strategy fans will no doubt love. You can choose from all of these various leaders, which includes some really interesting and maybe even surprising choices. Apparently, you can even have a leader that might excel at science and technology, and that could make for some genuinely interesting gameplay mechanics. So, I mean, again, like I said, it's not necessarily my style of game, but I can see why a lot of people would be interested, and it will release fall of this year on PC and PC Game Pass. This is a very PC-centric game after all, so that does make a lot of sense. I think the biggest announcement here, though, was Indiana Jones and the Gray Circle. We finally got gameplay, and it actually looks fantastic. Now, it is a first-person game, though, and I do understand that there was some hope that it would be third-person, but it is predominantly set in first-person with some third-person elements thrown in as well. That's mostly with cinematics and when you interact with objects, but even still, it looks really good, and I kind of actually like this now that I've seen it because this way, Indiana Jones can kind of be its own thing. Otherwise, it was going to be compared to Uncharted and Tomb Raider, but now this can really be its own thing set in first person, and it really seems like they nailed it here. It has great set pieces. I like the personality that they were showing. The combat really emphasizes Indy's whip. And from the way they were speaking, they want this game to feel like an authentic Indiana Jones adventure. So he's not just going to shoot his way through everything. He's going to have to use his wits and be clever. Now, there will be combat, but there's also going to be a lot of puzzles and problem solving, some mandatory, some not. And then there's even going to be some stealth elements. They actually showed him use his whip to distract an enemy. I thought that was kind of clever, but the gameplay, it looks great, which, I mean, I kind of expected coming from MachineGames, but I think now that we've seen it, I think it's refreshing to see that they can combine what makes them great with what also makes Indiana Jones great. This might actually be a better pairing than what was originally thought. Now, of course, though, the character model is an important part of the story. I was a little surprised by this, but they are actually using Harrison Ford as the character model himself. The talented Troy Baker apparently is the voice actor, and the facial animations are just phenomenal. I think if anything else, if you're wanting another story set in the Indiana Jones universe, everything that we saw today looks promising. Here's the thing, though. I know there's been a lot of talk about Xbox going third-party here recently. Now, I might actually go a little bit more in-depth into that topic in a future video, but I also remember when this game was first announced, much of the discourse online was all about how this game was going to be multi-platform. Well, they did confirm today that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle will, in fact, be an Xbox console exclusive, meaning that it's coming over to PC, Xbox, and Game Pass. So this is actually a huge get for Xbox. It immediately becomes one of the most exciting 2024 games, and it's on their platform or their ecosystem exclusively. So all things considered, I feel like Xbox had a pretty good day here. No, I'm not thrilled about Hellblade II having a digital-only release, but it still looks amazing, and it is one of the best-looking games planned for 2024. Indiana Jones, it looks great as well, and it's exclusive to Xbox, and also Avowed. I was very happy with what I saw. So this was really a good showcase in my opinion, but as always, I want to hear from you all as well. I will drop a poll for you all to vote in, and we'll talk about that in the next video, but until then, peace out.